my name is Bethany, and this is my channel, Thany's Thoughts. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a book tag called the English Major Book Tag. This was originally done by Hannah. I believe her channel name is Snow White Reader. Not 100% sure about the channel name, but I will link it down below if you want to see the original tag and that she created it. As I've probably mentioned on my channel a few times, I am an English major. I did graduate with my English major. I mean, it's been some time ago, but I still graduated with my English major. I have a great affinity for English majors and English literature in general, so this seemed like a really fun tag to do, and here is hence why I'm doing it. And yes, let's get started. So for the first prompt, it is Romanticism. What's a book you seem to wear rose-colored glasses for? A book that definitely deserves a reread. And bonus points if you share a memory. The two series that actually came to my mind first when reading this prompt was going to be Boxcar Children and the California Diaries. The Boxcar Children being about a group of kids who live in a boxcar. They are orphans, but then their grandfather adopts them and they end up solving mysteries. And I started reading it very, very young. I think I read that in series in kindergarten, first grade, so obviously I have very rose-colored glasses for. Unfortunately, I have heard that there is very blatant racism in those books, which is really sad and unfortunate to learn of that. But also the books were written, I want to say, in the 20s, maybe?
Hello, Editing Bethany here. So I decided to go ahead and look up when the Boxcar Children was actually published and learn some information that I thought was relevant to the video that I was doing. So the first book was actually originally published in 1924, and then it was reissued in the 1940s, and then this is subsequent first 20 books of the series that were originally created by the original writer, Gertrude Chandler Warner, were published in the 60s and 70s, and then book number 20 and on started in the 90s and then continued on until now. Like, they are still publishing new books in the hundreds in 2020, so which is wild to me. Anyway, so yeah, the first 19 books were in the 60s and mostly in the 60s and 70s. So, I mean, 1920s, I think racism was still prevalent, so it makes sense. Still not acceptable, but it makes sense. But the 60s and 70s, no, not acceptable. Should have been better. No racism should have been involved in those books. And definitely not in the 90s. So I don't know when racism came into play in any of these books, because I don't remember, which is why it's rose-colored glasses and they demand a reread. But yes, thought this was relevant, thought that would be something that I should add into my video so I can make sure that my information was clear. And Editing Bethany out.
But also very disappointing. So something I definitely want to reread just so I can see if I pick that up. As well as one of my favorite series in middle school was the California Diaries series. It was a series that took place in California, an alternative timeline where Dawn, instead of staying with the babysitter girl, she instead stays with her dad in California. And it is about her teen years going through high school, and a group of her friends all keep journals, and it is the journals that they write. I was obsessed with this series. I do not know if it aged well. I probably would have found much more triggering things in those books than I remember, maybe. I don't know. I just don't know if they aged well. So it'd be interesting to reread them. And I definitely have rose-colored glasses for those as well. The other one that I thought of too would probably be Bridget Jones's Diary. One of my favorite books I read in high school. I was obsessed with this book. I read like a feminist manifesto on this, but I'm not even lying. I had like quotes and quotes and quotes of all sorts of feminist quotes that I referenced in the book. I was a woman on a mission. I tagged everything. It was a thing. But did it age well? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. And I haven't read the newest book because I have strong feelings against it. But I do remember that I was something that I was super obsessed about, and I won't know if it aged well or not. It'd be interesting to see. So definitely something that needs a reread as well. Next prompt is John Mulaney is an English major. What's a book that you felt accurately represented an aspect of your life? This was actually a really tough question to answer, and most of the answers to these questions I tried to pick books that I read as an English major, but not all of them. And this is not one of them. Obviously, the first question wasn't and didn't answer that either. But the answer that I came up for this one was Someday, Someday Maybe by Lauren Graham. So if you're familiar with Gilmore Girls, Lauren Graham is the actress from Gilmore Girls, and she actually wrote her own novel, and this was her novel. And it wasn't bad. Like, a lot of actors, can't always write, but this story was kind of okay. It was kind of cute, and it wasn't terrible. Obviously, it was very, a little bit half autobiographical. It is about an actress who is a struggling actress trying to break into the business, and she lives in New York, I believe, and she goes out to auditions and things of that nature, and just kind of her experience doing that, as well as there's a little bit of a side romance happening as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute. One of the things that I felt accurately represented an aspect of my life is because I read it during a time when I had just graduated high school and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next and what I wanted to do for my career, and kind of struggling and floundering in that. And in this particular book, because she also had just graduated school, she just completed acting school, and she was trying to figure out what her next thing was and breaking into the business, sending in audition tapes, going to auditions, talking to her agent and things like that. And it just felt really relevant to me sending out resumes and going through that process. And I just really identified with that character during that time. The thing is that Someday, Someday Maybe does take place, I think, I want to say sometime in the late 80s, early 90s. There's fax machines, there's pagers. It's before emails, before computers, before smartphones. There's payphones mentioned, so it's kind of a little bit, it feels more oldie-timey than it actually is. But so that didn't really relate to that experience as well, with the age that I was living in. But I just felt like her struggle and her trying to identify herself and find herself was very relevant to how I was feeling at the time. And I really appreciated it for that. So that was my answer for that prompt. Oh, so you want to teach? If I had a dime for every time I got that question when I told people I was an English major. Even though English majors are very versatile, this question almost always gets asked. Yes, it does. Name a book that went more in depth than you expect, or a book that surprised you with how many topics it covered. So for this one, I did end up choosing a book that I read when I was becoming an English major, and that book I chose was Sex and the City by Candace Bushnell. Why did I read that book in college? Well, actually, I read that book for my feminist literary theory class. All I had known about Sex and the City was basically from the TV show. I never really got super huge in the TV show. Maybe I saw a few episodes here and there. I wasn't a huge fan of the TV show, but I really liked the book. And of course, the book is also based off of the newspaper column that started it. I really appreciated the book. I thought the book was very feminist, at least for the time that I read it in. I don't know how well it aged now, but I think it covers a lot more about female friendships and femininity and what it's like to be a single woman. And there was a lot more layers to it than I expected because I was going into this, reading this book in my class, I was like, what am I doing? I do not want to read this. And I was pleasantly surprised, and it ended up being one of my favorite reads for the class. So yeah, it's definitely something that I was took me by surprise. And if you love the TV show, maybe don't read the book. But if you didn't like the TV show, then I think you'd probably appreciate the book more. Or maybe you would appreciate both and just go into it with very different expectations for the book than I would for the TV show. Symbolism. What's a book that represents something you love? So for that one, I technically still haven't read this book, but I couldn't really think of something I wanted to answer this question. So I decided to go with Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. And one of the reasons, and I still haven't read it, but one of the reasons I'm really excited to read it and want to read it, even though my reading's kind of slumpy right now, is the fact that this romance starts really taking place at a convention where they finally meet, and before that they are writing fan fiction. I love Comic-Con conventions. Me and my husband go to several in the Southern California area over the years. I really enjoy them. There's just something so fun about being in a group of people and with that are fans of the same thing, and fandom and fan culture, which is also can be very toxic at times, but also just the joy of fandom is also really fun and really great. And I miss that. I miss it so much with pandemic life, not having those conventions. So I really felt like this was something that I love, and I love the fact that this book involves all of those things. So that's why I'm still hyped to read it. even though I haven't picked it up. Don't judge me. And next prompt is Pretentious Paradox. Name a book you've read and often bring up in conversation to impress people. So I studied abroad while I was an English major. I studied abroad in Oxford, and that sounds really impressive, mostly to Americans. And I mean, it is. I did work really hard while I was there, but really, really where I went is I went to an American exchange school, essentially, that was specifically for American students, that was loosely connected to a college that was in Oxford University, but technically didn't like really study at Oxford. I mean, I was in Oxford, but like loosely connected. Anyway, again, it sounds much more impressive than it actually was. However, I do often like to reference the fact that while I was studying abroad in Oxford, I read within 6 weeks, I read all 6 Jane Austen novels. I wrote a paper on each one every week. And within 8 weeks, I read 16 Shakespeare plays and did a paper on each of those. Not each of those plays. I didn't write 16 plays. I didn't write a paper on each 16 play, but I wrote 8 papers on the variety of plays that I read during those weeks. So I feel like those are really great accomplishments, and I definitely say those to brag about myself a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I worked very, very hard for those specific 8 weeks that I was doing my 2 tutorial classes, and they were very intense. So I do that. I do bring that up to be pretentious and brag a little bit. And like I said, Americans are much more impressed about it. The art of BS. BS is the concept of arguing for the possibility of something to be true. What is a book that you feel like you could debate about for eternity? I will defend it till my dying breath. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I love that book so much. Just fight me. Fight me. I bring it. I will argue to its death about this book. I definitely had to do that in my Gothic fiction class. I was the minority of defending Mr. Rochester in my Gothic fiction class. Everyone was against me. They wanted to hate Jane Eyre. I love Jane Eyre, and I came across a little bit strong, not gonna lie. So fight me. I will always fight against it. I will always bring it. Yeah, absolutely. Bring it on. Your favorite old dead white author. Nothing is perfect as proven by classic literature. What's a book that you know hasn't aged well that you either love or hate? I don't want to bring Harry Potter into the room because those obviously, considering like the author became Voldemort, maybe Professor Umbridge. I mean, take your pick. Yeah, those are a little bit painful to look at right now. I was trying to think of books that like were written by dead white men, and Edgar Allan Poe wrote The Telltale Heart. I love that short story, but also learning about how he kind of groomed his cousin and married his younger cousin kind of has me side-eyeing him a little bit lately. That's something I recently learned, actually. As well as, so I also thought of Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I really loved it, actually, when I initially read it. I don't know if it aged well or not. Definitely something I need to reread. And the next question is Dark Academia. Who is a book character you love but know in your heart you would not get along with? For me, it's all the YA fantasy heroines, like all of them. Katniss from Hunger Games, Triss from Divergent, Bella from Twilight. I mean, fantasy-ish. Paranormal vampires. Alina from Shadow and Bone. Like, I would not get along with any of these women. They're badasses. All of them are in their own ways. But I feel like they're all really thick-headed and stubborn, and I'm really stubborn. I just don't think we would be friends. I don't think we would get along very well. I love them, though, from afar, as characters. Do not want to be friends with them. Yeah, that's how I feel about all of them. And for the bonus question, what's your favorite or least favorite book you've read for class? My least favorite being, there was a few, not a lot, but there was a few. One of them I definitely hated with every fiber of my being. That was Unbearable Lightness of Being. I can't remember the author's name. I didn't even write it down. So obviously I didn't care. It's up here. And it was just everything about it. The writing style, the pacing. What is this book even about? Who even cares? Like, it was just, I did not like this book whatsoever. So yes, felt very strongly about that. Did not like that book. Never will reread this book. No, absolutely not. And favorite. So I've had several favorites in my English major life. I tried to pick classes where I looked at the syllabus and decided, yes, those things that we're reading for class, I want to read, so I'm signing up for this class. I did that a lot with some of the classes that I picked. And here's like a really, really, really underrated favorite that literally when I looked it up on Goodreads, it has 155 reviews. Like, that's so obscure. And it is kind of obscure. The book is called Mulberry and Peach, Two Women of China by
Huling Nie.
And this is about two women in China, Mulberry and Peach, and how trauma affects women and how colonialism affects women and how these two women came to be and what that all means. Very, very heavily on mental health. Very, very definitely trigger warnings for all the things: sexual assault, abuse, it's war, violence, like a lot of things. So be prepared for that. But it was such a great story. And it's really short. It was a really short novel. I read it for the purpose to write my final paper for my feminist literary theory class. And it was one of my favorite reads. And definitely, never a book that I would ever have picked up if I hadn't been an English major. So there's that too. There is my English major book tag. If you're also an English major, or even if you're not and you want to do the tag, consider yourself tagged. I won't tag anyone below, but consider yourself tagged if you would like to join in and do the book tag along with me. Comment down below and let me know what your favorite read from school is, even whether you're an English major or not, high school or not. I would love to know. Put it down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. If you like what you saw, want to see more bookish things from me, please subscribe and hit likes and bells. I really appreciate it, as well as follow me down below on all the social medias and see me on all the things. I would really appreciate that as well. And that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye!